My ambition is to be happy and feel balanced. And what I mean by that is that, my good days and my bad days are more in harmony rather than my bad days having more weight than my good days.
This is going to be our secret, okay? We're going to figure it out what it means to be fulfilled, what it actually means to be happy. This is going to be a journey, but hey, we're only here once, right? Hey guys, this is Stuart, and welcome to the podcast. So today we are talking about mentorship and what it means to be a mentor. And personally to me, a mentor isn't your boss or a leader per se. They're walking with you in tandem. They're giving you their life experience and their insight, but they're going to let you make your own choices. They're looking for you to grow as your own person. They're there to help. So when we were starting off this podcast and we were discussing, having ideas for what we're going to talk about in interviews, this came up. It was probably one of the top on my list. And instantly I knew the exact person I wanted to ask to come on for this interview. And she said yes, and I was so humbled. And now you get to listen to Shawnee Ryan. Shawnee Ryan is everything under the sun, but she makes it look so simple. And here's the thing, if it looks simple, there's a hard graft behind it. Shawnee is everything. She is a mother, a wife, a manager. She is now going back to pursue a great passion that she's always wanted to do. This woman has cultivated such a positive community online of people trying to develop themselves mentally, physically, emotionally. So before we pop on, I'm going to get Shawnee to give us a bit of an insight into who she is as a person, who she is in her life up until this point, and then we'll hop into the podcast.
Lord, Shawnee's been a lot of people. I've been around a little while. In most recent years, I've been, a mom, and I was a stay-at-home mom for many years. I stayed home and raised my kids, and that has been my sole identity for so long, whether it be a Brownie or a Girl Scout mom or a Boy Scout mom or a football mom or a theater mom. I've always thrown myself completely into what my kids were doing, and those were the best years of my life, absolutely. And then I went back to work probably, 11 or 12 years ago.
Oh, yeah?
And then I became, more of a professional and a leader and a manager. I'm currently in like a middle management role. I have a small department that I oversee. I'm not a store manager like I was with my last company, but I really, really love leadership and mentoring and developing talent in people and putting them on the path to success. I'm always looking for my replacement. Whenever I hire someone or try to develop someone, it's with the thought that they're gonna replace me one day, and that's what I gear, and I really enjoy that.
That's an amazing outlook to have. It's actually a word really hit me there, being a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying you're using such let's say powerful words. You're not saying boss. You're not saying like you're overlooking on these people. You're trying to help these people grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't like being a boss. I mean, I like having a team, and I like being a part of the team.
Yeah.
And I do like leading a team, but it's I'm not creating people who follow me. I'm creating people to be like me.
And tell me, what's the difference between a boss and a leader to you?
Well, a boss, has authority and exerts it. A leader is cultivating buy-in and getting your team to believe in what you are doing. As a team, as a company, always keeping a company's mission and values at the front and center, and developing people into, confident role models for the next people who come along.
did you learn this? Where did you learn the difference between being a boss and being a mentor? Because that's not something we're inherently, educated on. When you're growing up, you learn your maths, your English, and whatever else, because
Hmm.
you're learned to like be part of the conglomerate, be part of the condition of which society is trying to put us in. So where did you learn to be a mentor, or who taught you, or how did you figure it out?
I learned this at Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Yes.
Oh,
When I went back to work, I went to work for Starbucks. They have incredible benefits, and I could work about 20 hours a week and get full-time benefits for my family. Like,
okay.
it's amazing. And I was lucky enough to be hired by Miss Wanda. And she is an amazing, amazing woman with an amazing story. And um, she made me into a leader. She told me early on, she said, Shawnee, you're going to be a store manager someday. I said, hi, you're crazy. And 3 years later, I had my own store. She saw it in me before anyone else ever did. And she taught me how to get to know people and learn about people and learn from people and teach to their strengths. And she's just an amazing woman.
So was Miss Wanda essentially your mentor when you were,
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah.
And what influenced, and how did Wanda influence you into becoming a mentor? Did you think, okay, now I've been taught by my mentor, I'm going to become a mentor? Or did it just naturally happen that you just decided to treat people a certain way that you were treated? And because the fact you flourished and you got your own store,
Mm-hmm.
you thought maybe that would work for other people.
Yes, and it did. And you just you treat people. I've learned that there's a difference between being equal and being fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I treated people with fairness and respect to their individuality. And I let them, like I said, I played to their strengths and helped them develop, where they had opportunities, and always with praise and respect, and never treated anyone like they worked for me. We were always a team. And, when I left, I actually changed locations when we relocated, but when I left my last store where I used to live, I had a team that was so amazing and so, there for each other that I could have taken like a full month off and not even worried about how things were being run. Um, you just you have to respect people.
Can we take a step back and talk about the difference between being equal and being fair?
Sure.
Because that's a very powerful thing. Can you explain that to us?
Well, we're not all the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're all different. It's a quote, I think, by Albert Einstein. I'll have to look it up. Something about a fish climbing a tree. I don't remember what it is. But yeah, everyone is different, and the playing field is not level for everyone. If someone if someone is neurodivergent, for example, or if someone has a physical disability, I can expect the same performance out of them if I set them up for success to deliver that performance. And that may not be the same path that their neurotypical counterpart might have. You have to create sometimes a fair playing field, maybe not necessarily equal to everyone.
That makes
It's
sense.
like,
That makes sense.
yeah. And I mean, if you, to break it down even in even simpler terms, think about pay or compensation. Is equal pay for everyone fair to everyone? It's not, because not everyone delivers the same performance.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's working in the environment and making it as fair for people so that they can thrive in it. But that
Yes.
doesn't always mean that it's the same as how other people are working.
Right.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow, that is just like a shock to the side of the head. That's amazing.
It works.
So going from Starbucks, now you had your own store and then you moved on.
Hmm.
Where did your career go after Starbucks?
Well, we relocated and I moved to a different market with Starbucks. And it was a completely different culture. It was quite a shock, actually. I moved into a different geographical location. The culture was different. Um, I had challenge after challenge after challenge in my new location, and a commute that was about 100 and I'm sorry, an hour and 15 minutes each way.
Whoa.
15-hour days. And I fought and fought and fought for a year, and I didn't have the same um, kind of staffing options, and I didn't have great peer support. That is something that meant the world to me before.
Mhm.
You have many mentors and many peers who can help you, and I just didn't have that. And I was missing my entire life, and I had no work-life balance at home. Even when I was home, my phone would be ringing off the hook. And finally I just said, enough. I've given it a good year. I relocated to this beautiful lake community, to have a different way of life, a more relaxed way of life, and I'm missing all of it.
Yes.
So I walked away and I took a very low paying job that I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was worth it.
So, how did you figure out that there was a time to shift your purpose from your passion? You have this, from what it sounds, that you have this passion to be in an environment that it doesn't actually matter where you're working, so long as you are building the community more than even the team, where you can all kind of thrive and, progress.
Mm-hmm.
So when did the purpose shift for you that you were like, this isn't working for me anymore, and I need to take a step back?
It shifted when I was not able to create that sort of community and work family that I'd experienced in the past.
Mm,
My staffing was just a revolving door. People just didn't want to work. I had a younger culture where I was in, working near a college, and people just didn't want to work. And um, I did work for a company that was very much geared toward the employees, which they
yeah.
call partners at Starbucks, not necessarily to the benefit of management. And my hands were tied in a lot of situations that left me, on my own working, for three people,
Yes.
for days on end. So, um, I, I really just had forgotten about the passion part of the job that I really enjoyed, and just said, I physically can't do this anymore. I mentally and emotionally can't do this anymore. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, so you obviously have this, self-awareness about, taking care of yourself, taking care of your space and your environment, and changing it when needed.
Hmm.
But this was a few years ago. Can we talk about what is the difference between Shawnee of then and the Shawnee of now? Like, if you two were to sit down at a table together, what would you say to Shawnee, who was in this, situation, who was thinking, I need to change? What would you say to her?
I would say, you're staying in a situation that is making you mentally and emotionally unwell, because you have come so far with it. You don't
Hmm.
want to give up. You don't want to walk away. I was with the company for 8 years, and I learned so much. And I just felt like, um, I wouldn't call it a failure. I felt like it was just like leaving the game early, to walk away. But um, today, I probably would have left even sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said, this isn't serving me. Yes, it pays me well. There's a lot
Hmm.
of benefits, but it's not serving me spiritually, emotionally. It's not enjoyable anymore. I'm not feeling passionate about inspiring people. I'm feeling passionate about firing people. You know, and there's just so much you can do, and that you finally get to a point where you're like, you know, I'm doing a lot on my own that I shouldn't be doing on my own.
Yes.
And today I would recognize that a lot sooner than I did. And I'm not sure that who I am today might have taken a different approach. I don't know. But I definitely would have realized a lot sooner that I needed to take care of myself and walk away.
Okay.
No, I don't think I was putting anybody above my own needs. I felt like my hands were tied. You know, if someone didn't want to come to work, you know, there's steps to follow when you know, if you have to manage someone's performance. But as I said, Starbucks is a very partner-centered company. So in many cases, all it would take would be a phone call to someone above me, and my hands would be tied. You know, like I said, the peer support wasn't there. I didn't feel like my managers had my back a lot. There wasn't any specific incident that led to it. I just remember waking up one morning saying, okay, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something different.
Yeah, it was that moment of self-awareness, being like, I'm done. I've given all I can.
Yeah.
A moment like that.
Yeah. A moment of almost indifference. Like, you know, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And that wasn't, yeah.
Let's talk about, you mentioned spiritually, like being connected. Let's talk about, you know, developing your passion, your drive, your motivation now.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that come from?
What drives me now is breaking cycles of my past. You know, that could be with family, relationships, friendships, self-sabotage. There are a lot of cycles that I'm just trying to break, you know, one by one. And one of those cycles is, you know, a lack of openness and connection, which I've actually developed quite a bit in the last several years. I think if I had worked on that a little bit more earlier, maybe my situation with my former job might have been a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So explain to us how you've grown. So what I was wondering is, like, being able to, you know, understand the fact that we do self-sabotage and we try to almost trick ourselves into not doing certain things that we know we need to do in order to feel more fulfilled and happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when did that shift start to come, when you tried to start developing that, or try to say in the back of your mind, you know, I'm not going to listen to you anymore because I'm trying to hinder myself from progressing in life?
Mm-hmm. I think once I realized that growing up in chaos, it becomes, you know, what you're accustomed to. And if you don't have it, you're not stimulated. And even if that stimulation is bad. And safety can be a scary thing if you're not used to it. Better. I value the safe spaces that I have. There are but a few. Vulnerability is still very difficult. That's just, you know, learned behavior, just to be afraid to put yourself out there. And I think
You are preaching to the choir with that one.
Yeah, I know. That's where I think social media has helped me the most. I think it's in a lot of ways safer to be vulnerable and open on social media, because you can simply put it out there and walk away. And you can come back and read comments if you want to, or you don't have to. Or you can say, oh, I was just pretending, or oh, I was just acting, or oh, it was just a joke. Or you can even delete it.
Yeah.
So you can adjust what you share based on how people react versus, standing face to face with someone and you tell them something and you have an immediate reaction, and it may not be the one you want. So it can be scary.
Let's talk about that. So, when did you start on TikTok?
I think it's been about 15 months or so. I don't remember how I ended up there. I think I went to look at something that someone shared with me, and then I looked at something else, and then I looked at something else, and before you know it, I was scrolling. And then I said, oh, well, I'll make an account. I'm never going to post a video. I'm only going to watch videos. I would never post a video. And then here we are.
Here we are 15 months later.
Yeah. And TikTok's so different, than the other apps because it's active people. It's video versus, a Facebook post that you can misread 100 different ways, or a Twitter. Good Lord. That's a cesspool. But
It is. It so is.
TikTok is just full of amazing individuals and stories. And I mean, God, there's just so many levels. You have people who've been through traumas, and people who can cook, and people who read books, and people who are actors, and it's singers. It's just everything and everyone, and it's really incredible. I love it.
Yeah. Even though, like you were saying, with social media, you can curate it how you want. There is an authenticity to TikTok where, like, you could scroll between 15 different videos, and each one of those could be so completely different than, like you were saying, Facebook posts that people can read different ways, or Instagram, the way everything is meant to be curated around a perfect grace life that people want. TikTok, there's like a transparency there when people want this.
Yeah, like I can go on TikTok in full makeup with curled hair, or a messy bun and no makeup, and my pajamas. It doesn't matter. It because it's me being me.
Yeah.
And there's definitely more of an acceptance that I have found on that app and with that community than anywhere else.
Let's talk about your community. You've built something that is so amazing, like the amount of people that you are helping through TikTok and Discord and Instagram. Like, it's a humbling thing to be a part of, that you are being the driving force behind. I want to go back to the word actually with you, mentor. Like, that's the way I feel you are. Like, how do you feel about being a mentor to so many people in various parts of the world?
It is, it's humbling and gratifying. I am probably among, I am among the older group of our community. And there are a lot of wonderful millennials. I love millennials so much. I'm going to digress. We'll get back to millennials in a bit, but I really enjoy making these friendships and building relationships that are all very different. Some are, my best girlfriends, and some are, a lot of people have referred to me as like a mom of the group. I think there are a lot of people in our community who don't have relationships with their mom, who don't have a good relationship. And, maybe I fill a little bit of that void for them. or maybe some are peers like me that are my age and are moms, and we relate to each other that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I am just as inspired by our community as anyone else is by me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you? Sorry, go on.
We have some amazing people in our group for sure. That comes back to you, Stuart. Last November, you challenged us to the Marie Keating 5K, 10K challenge. And, that was a big goal. And I slayed it, and you slayed it, and a few other people did too. And if you have that sort of goal to work for, and you have an entire month to do it, it's really not that hard. And a lot of people have, jumped on board, and I'd say our monthly challenges are the way to do it. And we try to keep it fun and interesting, and, not walk X amount of steps, but try to make it more individual to each person depending on their own personal journey.
Well, hey, yeah, you're trying to cultivate, let's say, the goals to a person's individual environment and how they are going to be able to progress to the best of their ability.
Yeah. So we'll create like a theme or a category and say, this is the kind of the area we want to focus on, but we want you to make it individual to yourself. And accountable only to yourself, but share your results with us. We're going to cheer you on, and we're going to, give you advice if you want it. And it's been great. I love the Discord.
And what are your ambitions now? When we've talked about Shawnee a year ago. Let's talk about Shawnee in a year. Mm-hmm. What are your ambitions?
My ambition is to be happy and feel balanced. And what I mean by that is that, my good days and my bad days are more in harmony rather than my bad days having more weight than my good days. Because I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to have bad days for the rest of my life. But I can't let them, derail me, or I can't crumble. So that is, a work in progress. I do still, have bad days, and I have days where I'm like, why bother? Because this is the result every time. And now I refer back to the good days and the successes and the encouragement and the support that I get, that I do now get. That's been a big difference in the last year, is the supportive network that I have now. It's made all the difference. Yeah.
And what would you suggest to someone who's currently having bad days, who's, let's say, only starting their journey, doesn't know if they can keep going, taking the next step, doing the next challenge? What advice would you give them? Because like you said, we all have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, baby steps are still steps, and if you don't feel like you can get out of bed and do a workout or clean your home or take a shower, then just get out of bed. Just do what you can. And if you get out of bed and that feels okay, then maybe take a shower, just one thing at a time. And, there's that proverb about how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So I would always stress to someone, do not give up. Be vulnerable and tell someone you need help, if it's privately or if it's in our group. Reach out. Someone will listen. Someone will support you and encourage you.
Because like every day we have moments in our lives where we have the choice to either do what needs to be done or not do them, because we either don't feel like it or our mind dissuades us from doing it because, it causes stress or fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I need to send you that. And to anyone, like 5 Second Rule, Mel Robbins is probably one of the most prolific books I've ever read. No, I'm gonna send you that copy. You don't need to look that up.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Like
Okay.
What are your targets now for your community? So do you know the way you have the monthly challenges? How far do you want your community to reach?
I'm not sure. We've had the same group for a while now,
Mhm.
and occasionally it gets opened up and we get 20 or 30 more, and then we lose 10 or 12, 20 of those. And occasionally someone will gently like knock on my DMs and say, hey, what is this Discord thing that you keep posting about? And um, we welcome everyone, obviously. It's open to anyone and everyone. We just want to make sure that we're all in harmony and working towards our separate goals together. If that makes sense.
It does. Working towards like your individual goals in life, but being that support system.
Yeah.
That's just, it's such a lovely thing to hear. Like, to know that you've never met most of these people, and yet you've all had such a profound effect on each other's lives, and you push yourself, past your limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
You've helped each other when you've needed it, and it's just such a lovely thing.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful thing, and everybody brings something to the table. Everybody brings some strength or encouragement to the table, to just fill in the places where we all need it.
Let us talk about, what are your hobbies outside of, let's say, social media?
I love cooking and baking, and I love being outside, especially since I live here at the lake. I love being in or on the water. I recently got a kayak.
Girl, I was going to give out to you if you didn't mention that kayak, because I look at your pictures and I'm just so jealous.
So I just decided to try kayaking. So I went and I rented a kayak, and I went out for a whole day by myself, and it was amazing. Just being in my lake lakes aren't that big really, but I just felt so small in the middle of the lake, and so small in the world, in the universe. And it was so peaceful. I said, okay, I'm going to buy a kayak. So my kids, for my birthday, bought me an inflatable kayak, which is actually perfect for just throwing it on the roof of the car, driving down to the marina, tooling around the lake for an hour or two. It's absolutely perfect. It's lightweight. It's wonderful. Best gift ever. I love it. But even if I don't, go kayaking, my daily walk is to the lake. The lake is a big part of my day every day. So just being outdoors, and cooking. I love to cook.
What would you be cooking or baking? Now, is there a difference between cooking and baking? And this comes from a very, very, very... What's the laugh about, Shawnee? What's the laugh about?
I've seen you working in the kitchen before. The fact that you're even asking that question.
Oh, do you not like my spirulina pancakes, or the fact that I nearly set my oven on fire trying to cook some potatoes?
Blackened broccoli, I think I recall.
That was delicious. That was delicious. I want that on my headstone. He died eating blackened broccoli.
You ate it out of spite. You didn't love it. You ate it out of spite.
A little from column A, a little from column B on my end there for that one.
No, I can cook just about anything, and I will try to cook just about anything. Yeah. All of it. You name it. I'm pretty good in the kitchen, I gotta say. Yeah. Yeah.
If I am ever out your way, I need to take you up on that offer, and then I will make you a meal and you will try it.
Fantastic. Will you use the slow cooker, or will it be in the oven?
I think the slow cooker is safer for me, except for, do you remember the night when I kept messaging you saying like, I keep on turning on and off the slow cooker. I'm afraid it's gonna go on fire. And you were like, Stuart, that's not how a slow cooker works.
No, you have to feel safe, though. I said you have to feel safe. If you don't feel safe, just turn it off.
What advice do you wish you had known back when you started this journey that you know now? What piece of advice keeps on like resonating with you?
Which journey in particular?
The journey that is life. Like our lives like are so linear in the fact, you know, like we're born and then we cease. Everything else is like completely deviates and goes out of trajectory. What advice or pieces of advice? Give us 3 pieces of advice that you'd wish you'd known as you were like going through your jobs, your careers, moving to the lake, you know, family life, social media, being vulnerable, creating this community, the journey you're on now for motivation and health and well-being.
Well, I'd say the biggest piece of advice that I would give younger people, and it's kind of a trick question because it's advice that if it was given to me, I would not have paid any heed to it at the time. So I say that with, full knowledge that I may not have taken it when I needed it. But what I would say now, especially to young women, is to not spend your younger years, your 20s, chasing love, but set yourself up, education, finances, career, set yourself up first, because love is wonderful and it's almost always worth it, but relationships do end, and it's much easier to move on if you know exactly who you are and what you have, and how you'll move forward.
Wow.
And if somebody had told me that when I was 20, I wouldn't have listened, but it's my advice nonetheless.
Where is the self-actualization where you realize, being not so much secure of yourself, but just knowing who you are and being at peace with yourself? Well, then, would that open you up to love a lot more than trying to find love?
I think it would attract the right people to you, which could result in love. Yes. There's all different kinds of love. I've attracted a lot of people to me in the last year that I do love, that, it's not a romantic love, but it's, soulmates nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're authentic with yourself and with others, that is who you're going to attract.
Yes.
Is authentic people. And that's when connections are made that turn into something more.
When you know who you are, the people around you will be the right people for you.
Yes.
Because you're not trying to fit into a group of people. It goes back to this interesting phrase that keeps on hounding me. It's you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
Yes.
And it's that whole thing, when you're self-aware about yourself,
mm-hmm.
you become secure in yourself, you know who the right people are for you to be around you. And like you said, love goes not just from, like, let's say, love of a partner, but soulmates and friends and
mm-hmm.
twin flames.
Yes. I think one of your recent affirmations really hit the nail on the head. It, doesn't give you what you want. Love gives you who you need and who needs you.
Oh, where have I heard that before?
Yeah, I think I saw it on TikTok or something. I don't know. Instagram. Somebody
said that.
Well, I think there are parts of people's personas that resonate with you. And it may just be a small part of who they are. And you can take even that small part and grow it into, something between the two of you, and turn that into a friendship. I have, I have friends that I talk to all day long, every day. And I have friends that I connect with on a minimal basis, that mean just as much to me. And I think it just depends on what connects you in the first place. What about your personas resonates with each other, and bonds you. The impact that you have on other people doesn't necessarily come from, your everyday life and what you do every day. It comes from parts of yourself that you share. And, that can be just a small part of what you know of someone.
That's very beautiful. That is beautiful, Shawnee.
It is a beautiful thing because, it's not just a beautiful thing to say. It's something beautiful that I experience every day.
Thank you for sharing that with me, with us, like on this. Shawnee, Ryan, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you for coming on to the podcast today and just having a chat, about like drive and motivation and finding your community and your why. It was an amazing conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure to talk to you and, share this time. Thank you very much.
No worries. Okay. Thank you, Shawnee.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You can hear it in her voice, guys, the way she talks. Like, her passion is trying to help people, to show them their value. A very small disclaimer that I just think is funny and had Shawnee rolling her eyes afterwards is that I thought I deleted the whole interview, because this is myself cussing my teeth on using like apps in order to do interviews for the podcast. So I kind of messaged her up and called her and said, hey, we might need to do it all again, so just remember every exact thing you said. Is that okay? Okay. And she was like, Stuart, oh yeah, cool. She is an amazing powerhouse of a woman, and I am ridiculously happy and humbled to know her and see where she goes. Guys, I thoroughly hope you liked this podcast. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you'd like to hear next, what we can discuss next. Tell me who you'd like me to bring on for interviews. That is something I really want to get into for this podcast. Hear other people's stories, other people's truths and passions and purposes. But for now, I'm going to say a farewell, a good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you've listened to this, whenever you've listened to this. I hope your day is both well and the day you deserve.